Today we're going to learn the best way to escape when you're grabbed by an attacker on the wrist or the lapel. So I received a request from one of our viewers, Dave, on how to escape when an attacker, an aggressor grabs you on your wrist, grabs you on your lapel. And since people tend to panic, I thought that would be a really good lesson to go over. Now, the typical self-defense response that I have seen taught when someone grabs you is to break the hold and then move away from the person, tell them to stay back.
Break the wrist, walk away.
Jeez.
Now, there are definitely circumstances where that would be appropriate. However, if you're in a real violent situation, you're missing the opportunity to effectively end the fight and get to safety. For starters, breaking the hold doesn't actually make you safe. Your attacker is free to make their next move, which will now likely be more violent. You also simply may not be able to break the grip of a larger, stronger aggressor, especially if they're grabbing you on clothing. Now, statistics will tell us that the person who attacks first, or as I like to say, the person who creates the entry, wins the fight, you ready for this? 90% of the time. So by simply breaking the grip and taking a step back, we are missing that opportunity to create the entry, and we're leaving that up to our attacker. So what is our solution? Instead of breaking the grip, we're going to attack them to release the grip, or as I like to teach, injure on the first beat. Injuring on the first beat simply means that your very first movement is an attack. Rather than trying to get free and then counterattacking, which gives the attacker a chance to retaliate, we will surprise them with a strike. Make sure you don't use any moves that require 2 or more movements or beats. This gives the attacker a chance to defend them and then counter you. Instead, pick a direct A to B motion. That is what we mean when we say injure on the first beat. Literally, the first movement you do should cause an injury. The ideal targets to attack are the ones that are the easiest to get to, have the lowest complexity, they're easy enough that a beginner can do them, and they will work against a larger, stronger, and tougher person. For our goal, the eyes, throat, and testicles are ideal. While other targets certainly can work, make sure to consider how tough your attacker is versus how hard you can actually hit. It's better to end the fight with one smart strike than to wind up in a knockdown, drag-out fight when you could have ended the fight sooner. After you injure on the first beat, always have a plan for your follow-up. Depending on the situation, that might mean continuing your attack unarmed, might mean getting a weapon to defend yourself, or getting to safety and possibly calling the police. Your follow-up should be based upon how much danger you are in if your attacker recovers. For instance, if you're about to be a victim of sexual assault or you're getting jumped by several people, your response is probably going to be far more violent than if you just have some dumb drunk guy in your face who can barely stand up straight. Just realize that the eyes and testicle strikes will rarely cause a real injury, while they will cause an injury-like response. However, a strike to the throat could potentially put someone in the emergency room. That isn't to say you shouldn't use eyes and testicle strikes in dangerous situations. Since they typically stun or even drop people, you can use that time to continue your attack or escape. So, is there ever a time that just breaking the hold and making space is appropriate? Certainly there are. Here's an example of a time that maybe is. I was once teaching a young woman who had previously been a victim of domestic violence, who was getting pretty darn good at self-defense, whether she realizes it or not. She was out at a club and some guy was trying to hit on her, and he was being aggressive and kind of a jerk, and he grabbed her wrist and tried to pull her in, and she didn't appreciate that too much, so she popped him popped him right in the eyes and dropped him like a sack of potatoes. She runs over, gets the bouncer, and has him kicked out of the club. So that worked out great for her in that particular case. Having said that, there wasn't any kind of imminent violence in that particular case, so that might have been an opportunity to, instead of actually attacking, to break the hold, take a step back, and tell the guy to leave her alone, or she'd have the bouncer kick her out. Hey, I can't tell you what to do. I'm just giving you an example of when it may have been more appropriate to not attack. So real quick, how do you break a wrist hold? Well, there's nothing magical to it. If your palm is facing down and you're grabbed on the wrist, I want you to do a semicircle and go palm up. It's just a motion like this. If you're grabbed palm up, you're going to do the same thing and go down. You're working against someone's thumb. If it's not working, it could be because they have a really good grip on your clothing, and that's a lot harder to break free from. If you're just doing a small motion like this, it also won't work. So just make it bigger. If you still can't escape, you might be in a lot more trouble, and injuring on the first beat might be your best option. Now, something that gets overlooked a lot in the world of sexy martial arts training and all the cool ways that you can hurt someone and all the different fancy moves you can do is simply, why were you grabbed in the first place? Because context matters. There's really only two times you're going to be grabbed in a fight. One is during a fight. That's usually someone's throwing a bunch of punches, you close in, you get into clinching range, and someone grabs a hold of you. Maybe they start hitting, maybe they lock up and you fall down. This happens because of gross motor skills, and people just frankly aren't in a nice calm mindset like they would be in a martial arts gym or messing around with their friends. They freak out and grab. I saw this not too long ago. Saw an adult soccer league where two teams got into it. So there's 30 people involved in a fight in a really small space, and people were clinching on and grabbing like crazy. One guy had someone in a headlock and was trying to hit him, but he couldn't hit him because someone else was pulling his hair and holding him back and grabbing arms, and it was a total shit show. I don't think anyone really got hurt because there was so much grabbing and clinching going on, and that's totally pretty normal, actually. And of course, in that situation, all someone would have had to do is pop a throat, pop an eye, smack some testicles, they'd be free from the clinch, and then they can continue on with the fight. But what about if you're grabbed and there's not actually a fight going on? It's before the fight. This is someone who walks up, they grab you by the collar, they grab you by the wrist. This is really simple. This is a predator intimidating who they believe to be their prey. This is not a martial arts thing. This is a, you've been misidentified or you've been correctly identified as prey. So if that happens to you, or if you are worried that that is going to happen to you, we have some different work to do. We need to start working on your internal way that you feel about yourself and boosting your confidence. The reality is, confident people don't get grabbed like that because predators don't attack other predators. They attack prey. Some school bully or mugger or drunk guy at a bar, if he's drunk he might have poor judgment, so maybe a drunk guy at a bar. Domestic abusers, who do they go after? They go after people who don't look like they would fight back. If you don't look like you'd fight back, that's where we need to do some work. I did make a video recently on how do attackers choose their victims. I'll leave a link to that down in the description. I highly recommend you go take a look at that, and that'll give you a place to get started in changing the way you look so that you are not identified as someone who should be grabbed. I guarantee you, if you ever run across me out in the real world, go up and grab that guy by the wrist or collar, will never cross your mind. So anyway, that's what you want to move to. Folks, if you liked today's video, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see a future video topic that I can make for you, leave that down below in the comments field. As always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so that you're alerted when future videos come out. Until next time, go get your reps in and become amazing.
Are you Go ahead.
Oh, Dad, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Come on, Elio.
Ready?